Seeing a helpless animal in distress is a truly heartbreaking feeling, but how you choose to act in such a terrible situation says a lot about you as a person. If you choose to do your very best to save the animal's life, you are, unfortunately, one of the kind few. In today's video, we will share with you some heartbreaking clips of animals asking us for help. A man rushes into the water to wrestle with an alligator. Why? Because its strong jaw is locked onto his little puppy. But with a cigar in his mouth, he used all his strength to pry the predator's jaw open, allowing the dog to say, "See you later, alligator." A tiny kitten was thrown out onto the highway, and all the cars kept passing by without stopping. But fortunately, all of humanity is not yet lost, as this kind man stops to pick it up and bring the kitten to safety. Just listen to this poor thing's cry for help. The little bear cub fell into a pitch-black basement in the middle of the night. Good thing it quickly figured out how to use the ladder and climbed out.
There you go. There you go.
When a dog suddenly fell through the ice, it desperately fought to stay above the surface. Tired and probably on the verge of hypothermia, no one dared to jump into the frozen lake until this hero showed up. Even though he couldn't feel his legs anymore, he kept on going to save its life. And as he finally reaches land, another act of kindness is displayed as all the bystanders take good care of the hero. German Shepherd Cisco was soaked in gasoline and horribly abused by his former owner. But before it was too late, these kind people found him and turned his life around. Now, he can finally feel happy and loved for the first time in his life. This little civet's paw was bound by chains, yet it was deeply afraid of humans. However, in the end, it seemed to understand the intentions of its rescuer, Sky. The creature's fear and confusion gave way to a sense of trust. After being released, you would think the cat's first thought would be to run away into the forest, but the animal was so confused by the human's act of kindness that it didn't know what to do. Eventually, the bobcat said thank you to its savior in its own way and headed back home where it belongs.
There it goes.
I don't know how this baby deer ended up in the middle of a lake, but today is definitely his lucky day. It was so exhausted that it just couldn't walk, so this man became a temporary stand-in for its mother until...
It'll be okay, little one. There you go, little one. You go find mama. You get out of here. There you go. There she goes, guys.
This sweet ending. When a man was going to check on his car after a snowstorm in -50-degree weather, he suddenly heard screams for help coming from a nearby van. It was covered in snow, and inside he found a terrified little puppy who had spent the night all alone in the freezing cold. Its careless owner had left the poor innocent dog there to die a horrible death. But now, the dog has finally gotten a loving family that deserves her. This squirrel was doomed and desperately needed help from a human. That's when it made the bravest decision of its life. The squirrel came to a parking lot in hopes of finding a kind soul that would save it.
Hey, oh my God.
And thankfully, it worked.
Oh my God, I saved it.
At first, you can't even tell that this poor little creature is a hedgehog without needles. But thanks to its kind rescuer, who decided to do everything she could to save its life, the hedgehog grew back its needles and was released back into the wild. A severe drought in India led a dehydrated cobra to do the unthinkable, to ask humans for some water. When a mother bird lost her chick, all she could do was beg humans for help. Fortunately, her cries were heard by this woman who had everything she needed for the rescue mission. A lioness was far from the watering hole and wouldn't have been able to get there in time, but thanks to this brave man, her thirst was quenched. Dumping an animal in the forest that needs urgent help is an unspeakable act, but that is exactly what the owners of this poor dog did. He was dumped in the forest with a huge tumor, cold, alone, and sad, waiting for his end in agony. Thankfully, he was found by a group of wonderful animal rescuers who took the poor soul to their shelter. Unfortunately, he had to get his leg amputated. But against all odds, he survived the difficult surgery and now has a normal, happy life ahead of him. This heron was so tired from a long flight that it decided to rest its wings and instead cruise around on the hood of a car. And luckily, the driver was kind enough to give it a ride.
Just hanging out, enjoying it. People are looking at me and laughing.
On February 24th, 2022, the nation of Ukraine woke up to flying rockets and explosions. Many families had to leave the country in a hurry, and thousands of frightened pets were left behind on the streets. But this brave woman decided to stay behind, continuing to feed stray dogs and rescue as many animals as possible. One of those lucky few was Zuza, who urgently needed to be taken to a clinic to be saved at the last moment. She was suffering from heartworms, causing a lot of liquid to accumulate in her belly. But thanks to these amazing rescuers, they were able to pump out 10 liters of liquid out of her belly. And only a couple of weeks later, Zuza was miraculously on the right path to a healthy life again. The king cobra, a highly poisonous and aggressive snake, enjoys a cold bath from a friendly neighbor during a summer heat wave. It's truly amazing to see humans and dangerous animals like this one being friendly towards each other through difficult times. A local called for urgent help after seeing a man pouring cement over an innocent dog. He had been stuck there for one night and cried relentlessly, but these kind people were determined to save him as they dug out the poor animal. They took him home, gave him medicine, and treated all his injuries, but most importantly, they also gave him a lot of love, something he needed desperately. A cow somehow managed to fall down a well in a small town in Syria. But this rescue team came together with a couple of locals to save it using an excavator to pull it back to the surface. Somehow, this fox got stuck under a heavy rock. But fortunately, these workers came to the rescue. A baby sloth fell from a tree and was separated from its mother, so these rescuers recorded the cry of the baby and played it near the tree to get the mom's attention. After waiting patiently, the mom finally came down for the baby, and their reunion will melt your heart. That right there proves that anyone who says that animals don't have feelings aren't paying enough attention. Off the coast of Russia, 4 orcas got trapped in the ice and had no other choice but to beg humans for help. Rescuers had to manually disperse huge chunks of ice, but the hard work was worth it because all 4 were eventually saved. Scott was on his way to work when he heard cries for help in the distance. When he got closer, he realized that it was a young fawn desperately asking for help. Becoming a hero was probably not what he expected to do on a boring Monday morning. I have no clue how this could have happened, but if you have any idea, please let me know in the comments.
Awesome, good job, Anna. Go.
Of course, the important thing is that the camel was saved.
Come.
Peruvian police officers formed a human chain to rescue a dog that found itself stranded in a canal. When this guy's cat escaped from his apartment, he walked along the 6th floor ledge to retrieve it and save his best friend. When a tiny kitten was stuck under a bridge, these people tried to save it using a landing net. Their first attempt failed miserably, and the kitten was now drowning in the river. Luckily, they eventually managed to rake the kitten ashore and perform CPR, saving its life. Seeing an alligator heading straight towards you would send most people running for their lives, but this man knew it was just Betty, a friendly alligator that was coming to ask for a little treat. Betty is one of 6 rescued alligators who enjoy a pristine cypress swamp with no public access, and the other gators are also just as friendly as her. This elephant unfortunately lost a limb and therefore couldn't live in the wild any longer, but these kind people were not going to give up on her so easy, so they created a prosthetic leg for the elephant, and now she's able to walk again. A piece of packing tape turned out to be a deadly trap for a tiny gecko, but this man knew exactly what to do. With the help of special tools, he quickly freed the poor creature. A calf wandered out onto the thin ice and couldn't be saved in any usual way. So that's when the rescuers came up with a risky but brilliant idea, blowing it off to shore with a helicopter. A red deer was rescued from a frozen river in Siberia after local hunters spotted the animal struggling in the cold ice water. The 4 men worked together for 4 hours to cut a path for the deer to pull him out of the river. The rescue team then immediately started rubbing the deer to try and restore circulation to the freezing animal before warming it up by a fire. The deer was then taken to a local garage where it was fed with lard and vodka. After recovering, the men released the deer, which ran gratefully back into the forest. In the search for food, a green bee eater became trapped and could already feel the sun burning its feathers. But then, this man came to the rescue and helped the handsome little bird to freedom. Amazingly, this thirsty squirrel knew where to find water but was unable to open the tap. That's when a kind woman understood the animal's request and helped it out. When a dog got stuck in a dam, this brave man didn't hesitate to risk his own life to rescue the poor animal. After overcoming a lot of hurdles, he was finally able to pull the dog to safety. A terrified dog was trapped and about to sink into the cement, but was saved by a hero just in time. 4 puppies came close to losing their lives in a horrendous accident when they stumbled into spilled tar in a garbage pile. The little sweethearts were dazed with confusion, pain, and fear, and 2 of them were so completely covered that all they could move was their eyes. The rescuers started softening the tar with oil and removing it piece by piece for over 3 hours. And when it was all removed, they could finally be reunited with their worried mother. This little jerboa will remember the person with a glass of water as a true savior. This little guy saw his friend Matthew get hit by a car and never left his side. No one would have found the injured dog if it wasn't for his friend patiently waiting in the middle of the road for help. Once found, they quickly headed to the emergency room, and when Matthew finally left the ER, they made sure to bring a very special surprise. Make sure to leave a comment down below if any of these heartwarming stories touched your heart a little extra. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to our channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss the next one. See you then!